It's the MythWits, a geek pop culture web series, broadcast live for video and audio podcasts. Watch us live at MythWits.com and find us on YouTube and iTunes, bringing you news and reviews about geek pop culture. We have comedy skits, play nerd-tastic games, and provide extensive on-location con coverage. And now, your hosts.
Hello and welcome to another exciting, action-packed, thrilling adventure with the MythWits. I'm your host, Peter Bryant, and before we go any further, this show is not safe for work. So if you're anywhere where delicate ears can hear our vibrations into the universe, please move those little ears away, or if that includes your boss, you know what to do. So joining me tonight is my co-host, Mike Kafis.
Also known as just Kafis for the rest of this episode.
Wow.
Since there's a...
You're coming in awfully hot, dude.
What?
A little bit hot.
Oh. I'm hot. Ooh. How's this?
That's a little better. All right, go ahead.
All right. There's a doubling of mics compared to the amount of peeps that are on the show tonight.
Oh, wait, Mike. That was my fault. You can go back up a little bit. Remember we said about the TechWits? I'm using a new tool. I'm sorry. I apologize, folks. I'm using a new tool with the Google Hangouts. So say it again, Mike. What was that?
So how am I now?
You're good. Sorry.
Good.
Sorry, that was my bad. So anyway, okay, yes, this show's not safe for work. Mike, do you have a pitch there?
Yeah, as I was sitting there, I told you earlier today I had three things in mind today, right? I was going to relax. That didn't happen much.
Right.
I was going to do some laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, a minute. I was going to relax.
Yeah.
I was going to do some laundry, and that did happen.
Right.
And then I was going to have a shit shower and a shave.
Yeah, right.
And that didn't happen. So I'm just wondering, because I know you've told me before, don't do things right before the show that are going to endanger the show. So is this show safe for a shit shower and a shave?
No, because you have a camera, and I mean the shit maybe if you do it off camera, because we don't have smell-o-vision yet. But
hey, 2 mics, 1 cup.
Oh God.
Oh.
Speaking of the other mic.
Moving on.
Tonight we are joined by Michael Underwood. And for purposes of the 2 mics, I'm going to try to remember to refer to our co-host Mike Kafis as just Kafis, and Mr. Underwood here as Mike. He'll be just the Mike.
Probably not going to work so good, seeing as you're just so wonderful with names anyway.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So anyway, Mike, welcome to the show.
Very happy to be here. I can already tell that there's really no bottom that I'm going to be able to go below.
No.
On this show.
We're already there, buddy.
No, that's where we start.
I'm all good.
We come to the show with shovels. So
you might say we started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah, you missed our whole show last week on fecal transplants. That was good.
Yeah.
So Mike is a writer, and he writes some stuff, novel-y type stuff, fiction-y type stuff. I met him at Balticon, and I think we were on a panel together, right?
Yeah, it was the how to write fiction without breaking natural laws, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So I said, we were talking, and we're like, why don't you come on the show, talk about your books, because he's got a couple of them. How many have you done now?
My 4th novel was just released today.
Sweet. Okay, let's not get to the 4th novel just yet. Let's start with this Geekomancy series that you got. Mm-hmm. So tell me about Geekomancy, because it's a whole series, right? It's 3 books.
Yeah, we've got 2 novels, a novella, and a 3rd novel coming next year. The central premise of Geekomancy was me asking the question of, what if fandom were a magic system? So what I have is a world where some people who are geekomancers can take their love of pop culture and kind of fanish things and use it to make magical change in the world. So the main character can watch The Matrix and then do wire fu because she loves The Matrix and she taps into that love and it lets her emulate the genre. Or she could take a collectible card from Magic the Gathering or Netrunner, tear it up for a one-time effect associated with that card. And then the other ability is that she can take props and memorabilia, and you tap into the collective nostalgia that's assigned to that item in its basically metaphysical nostalgia battery, and then use it as the real thing. So she has a Force FX lightsaber that's her kind of trusty weapon that when she activates it and kind of uses a work of will, it's a real lightsaber for a short amount of time based on kind of how much nostalgia there is, and then it has to recharge when it's out. So she goes and has very big geeky adventures. So it's very much me putting my love of SF&F into the forefront and then telling fun urban fantasy stories.
Okay, so this is like super fanboys. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, my question, that's Cafus. My question is, can one hero only pick one genre or movie or story to get their power from, or is it like, I need a power, I need to watch this or read this real quick in order to get it, or
I know Kung Fu.
Right? Ray, as the main character, is mostly a generalist, so she likes lots of different things. And then she has some things that she kind of trends toward using more and more, but she can use anything that she loves. It comes very powerfully down to how much you like the thing. So, if she needed a power that she could only get from a movie that she hated, she's not going to really get any traction out of it. So one of the things she does later into the series is she's intentionally expanding her range to try to get into things that she hadn't gotten to before, so that she has more versatility. There are some people in the world who are specialists. Like there's a Star Wars specialist who kind of disappeared from this town, from the town where she lives, a number of years ago, and that character, Bronwyn Nick Catron, was like the #1 Jedi Geekomancer that anyone had ever met. Like she was prequel trilogy Jedi levels of power, which was really impressive because most of the time, like the amount of power that you can get out of it is really, really limited. Like even if you tore up an Action Comics first appearance of Superman, you'd only get one pre-crisis punch out of it. So I keep the power level down a bit.
Okay. So all right, so it's kind of like that whole vampire thing. You have to believe, you have to love it. You have to the power that you can pull forth is directly proportional to your love of that genre.
Yeah.
So like I could probably become Flash Gordon from 1980.
Yes.
Right.
That was on in a bar over the weekend when I was up at New York Comic Con. It was the most awesome thing.
Yeah, I love that movie. Or
how was New York Comic Con? Can you give us a little report real quick? Because I mean, we didn't get to go.
No, yeah, we didn't get to make that.
Yeah, so reports say that it was the largest New York ever, and at 151,000 unique badges sold, it was bigger than San Diego. Is what I'm hearing today.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was my third New York Comic Con, and it felt like it was the best run, even though it was the largest. There wasn't as much congestion, except in some places. Like getting up and down the escalators to the show floor was a huge mess, but a lot of the rest of the time it didn't feel quite as insane. Now that may have just been the fact that I'm getting used to it, because I'm several trips in.
Right.
There were a lot of big announcements. My friend Chuck Wendig, he and another Angry Robot author, Adam Christopher, are going to write for Dark Circle Comics, which is Archie's superhero world relaunch.
Oh shit!
So that was a highlight for me. Yeah, they're co-writing The Shield, the old Red Circle patriotic character, who's getting rebooted and reimagined as a kind of immortal spirit of the country as a female character.
Okay.
That and the other Dark Circle stuff is really cool. I had a signing that I did on Saturday, which was great. And because I'm now getting into comics writing, I wandered Artist Alley a lot, talking with people, and the comics professionals are just some of the most welcoming creatives that I've ever met. So overall, it was just a huge kind of good time for me.
Cool. So I have a question about that, because I've always wondered about, I've written short stories, and I imagine, I can extend that to I can extend that to like a novel level. I can imagine that. but I have a hard time imagining how you write a comic book. I mean, you don't actually do you actually write the the little panes and dialogue and stuff, or do you kind of write a story? How does that? I mean, I just don't know how does that work. How does a comic book writer write comics?
So something I discovered pretty early on when I was getting into comics writing is that while in prose, short stories and novels, format is fairly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a pretty good chance of knowing what a novel is going to look like in terms of where the words go on the page, what the kind of overall narrative styles are going to be. You've got first person, third person, sometimes second person. But in comics, because comic scripts tend to be for artists and the other collaborators, they're working documents rather than forward-facing public documents, really.
Mm-hmm.
It means that for a lot of writers, like their script style is very individualized, and it's not about writing the script to communicate directly to an audience. It's communicating to your collaborators, and then the writer, the penciler, the inker, the colorist, the letterer, the graphic designer, and the editor overseeing it all, they all create the final product, which is the work that communicates with the audience. So there's a really big difference in the way that kind of comic script writing versus prose writing works.
Right.
But comic writing, for me, does share a lot more with like television or film script writing, just because you've got a lot of shot description and the way that it gives you full detail in dialogue and in like narration, but it tends to be written very much in summary in terms of description, because the description doesn't show on the page.
Right.
The description is communication to the artistic team. So it's a really different form.
So like let's say we're gonna write a little bit of the Hulk now. So so I'd be writing and say, okay, the enemy or the bad guy, the red. Let's say the Red Skull and the Hulk. I don't know why they'd be fighting, but let's say they are. So the Red Skull is in a factory, and a scene opens with the Hulk crashing through the window. He lands and blurts out some Hulk-like phrase. Then the Red Skull says something like, "I've been expecting you," and that's when he pushes a button on a controller, and a tin of molting steel drops on the Hulk. Looks like the Hulk is completely covered. He's not going to be able to move, and then he bursts forth and runs at him with molting steel dripping off his body. Something like that?
Yeah, and so taking notes from what you were saying, I counted at least 7 panels worth of action.
Okay.
Possibly
Yeah,
more.
it's like storyboarding. That's the first thing you do is storyboard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because with comic scripting, unless you're doing something very special, you generally cannot describe more than one action per character at the time.
Right.
So if like the Red Skull can be doing something and the Hulk can be doing something in the same panel, that makes it more busy, and you have to figure out how to show them both.
Right.
But with very rare exceptions, you can't any given character can't be doing more than one thing at a time.
Right.
In terms of like temporally. Like the Red Skull can be talking and throwing the switch. That's a fine panel.
Mm-hmm.
Then you probably need another panel to show the molten stuff being poured onto the Hulk, and then probably another one that's the Hulk struggling, so
Right.
that you can indicate that it doesn't instantly get out. And then you may even do several panels of him struggling while the Red Skull monologues, and then he'll burst out. I'm reminded of a really famous sequence in Spider-Man where Spider-Man is trapped underneath this incredibly heavy, I think it was like a water basin or something like that, and he's being trapped and he has to escape because he has to go and save like Aunt May and Mary Jane and people like that. And it's like 2 pages just of him struggling to kind of push up from the girders and the water and everything that he's trapped underneath.
Right.
And by extending that and drawing it out over several panels, you start to really get invested in the struggle, because you can tell through the fact that it's taking multiple panels and effort that it's a huge task. So it's very much man versus nature, but we have the time to get Spidey's internal monologue, to get the motivation behind it, and then that's why it's remembered. So if we wanted to play up the tension in this Hulk situation, maybe we would extend the number of panels that it takes him to struggle through.
Right.
That thinking spatially and spatially temporally, because panels are time,
Right.
comics. It's
Right.
a whole different way of approaching things.
That's cool. That's really interesting. So, just real quick, so as the writer, do you basically write to how many panels you want, or is that a collaboration? Like, would you do like a draft? Would you like, for example, would you write something like what I did, and then maybe you and the artist sit down and go through how many panels that's going to be, and then maybe come back and say, well, I kind of feel like there should be more panels here because I want to show that extra struggle.
Right. Yeah, there's a few different ways of doing it, and I'm just now writing my first few scripts and haven't contracted with any artists yet. So I'm talking about the collaboration on kind of what my friends and other colleagues have been talking about. We're going to take the script, I'm going to find an artist that I could trust to bring their own artistic vision, because I think a penciler or kind of whoever your primary artist is, you're going to really want to trust their ability to do visual storytelling and page composition.
Right.
And to push back at me as a writer being like, hey, what you have here in one panel should be 3, and I can do these other 4 panels in 2. And
Right.
that I should trust their sense of storytelling.
Right.
And then in a lot of cases, yeah, the writer and the artist or artists are probably going to get together and talk about where to condense, where to expand, and sometimes artists will say, hey, I put in basically a spacing panel here to draw out the tension or to ramp this up.
Right.
And that because it's, sometimes as many as 5 or 6 people all making a comic, it's really important, from what I'm hearing, that any given person in the team not have too huge an ego and not be married too directly to the one true way of telling the story, which
Right.
for me as like a lifelong gamer and role player sounds totally great because I'm used to telling stories collaboratively.
Yeah.
But this
Right.
will be interesting because we're all going to bring different skills to the table instead of 5 different actor players.
Right. Right. So now I know you're kind of new to the comic writing thing because you're saying this is like going to be your first one, but one of the guys in our chat room, David, he says he asked, hopefully you know the answer to this, or you've put some thought into it, or maybe you guys have talked about it. How does the comic writer follow canon, or does it matter depending on the story?
Yeah, so for work for hire material, I think it's going to depend on what house you're writing for. I think Marvel and DC are going to have, because it's such a big ship, either Marvel or DC, and there's so much continuity that's really leans on one another, and they've got events to plan for. There's probably more that the editor has to kind of steer the writers and creators away from if they're kind of headed into something that may become a conflict.
Right.
I think that in many cases, depending on kind of what you want to do with the characters, if you've got a really strong vision for, hey, I think this is a cool way, a new way of interpreting a character. I know that it runs roughshod over some stuff from 27 years ago in this one panel.
Right.
That may be as much down to the editorial team to decide what is and isn't essential in terms of contradictions. Because like Marvel has never had a hard reboot, so they fit everything in, and it means that a lot of times that you end up getting some retcons, whereas DC has more repeatedly kind of hit the reset button and the multiverse reset button on their continuities.
Yeah.
So any given house, they're going to have an editorial style, they're going to have their world Bible, and I think as a work for hire creator coming in, you need to respect that, but then also see where you can add to that universe, because you were hired because they want you to add to the universe or to carry forward as a custodian of the characters that they've already built up.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, Mike, did you have any questions?
No, as he's talking about that, I was just reminded when we were talking about the Man of Action guys, we were talking to them, and who else did we interview that was doing some comic writing recently?
Oh, yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy.
Yeah. I mean, everything kind of seems very consistent with that. And I know that they were talking about there are certain people, and it's always up to the guys on top to decide if they're going to let something go or break canon or allow something to go in, as canon or not. But I think like Mike was saying, that the bigger the property, the more closely it's going to be watched and scrupulated, and that's not the
scrutinized.
Right word. Yeah, scrutinized.
Scrutinize that.
Because I'm I'm not going to be able to come into Marvel and say, hey, I want to completely reimagine who Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
But J. Michael Straczynski, who created Babylon 5 and who had a long history of writing across a variety of media, when he came into comics and had his pitch for Amazing Spider-Man, he had shown that he could manage a really big property. And so, they went forward with his much more mystical reinterpretation of Spider-Man, which I think for me made it a really memorable run. But I'm not going to presume that coming in with 4 novels published, they're going to put me on, Wonder Woman with a pitch that's like, I'd like to reinterpret Wonder Woman as an avatar of justice across time, and like in a way that's different than what you've done it. And I want this to have been in the way that it always was, not like a temporary celestial reassignment. That's probably not going to be the way that I would be able to go forward.
Right.
You could have just pissed them off early on and said, I want to reimagine Wonder Woman as a man.
Oh God, here we go. No. but I was gonna say, so like Joss Whedon, he did Astonishing X-Men, and he did a lot of some fairly big changes with some of the characters. Some stuff with Kitty Pryde and with Colossus, and matter of fact, I think he brought Colossus back to life. I mean, for that, was it Kitty Pryde? Shit, I can't remember. One of the two. He brought somebody back to life, and it was just amazing that they gave him the reins to run with that. But then again, it wasn't, because it's Joss Whedon. Of course, they gave it to him. I mean, but this was prior to Avengers, so so I guess Marvel was trying to woo him early on, as it were.
Sure. Well, I think it can be tricky to do an exact like status equivalency across media.
Mm-hmm.
How popular of a TV writer equals how much leeway in comics writing. Like that's gonna be up to the editorial board.
Right.
So for me, like I'm gonna assume that I will start at the bottom in the comics world. That I'll try to put something out on my own, or I'll try to get a one shot or kind of a trial work hire job. I show like I can hit deadlines, I can work with people. That gives some confidence, but I'm not going to assume that I'll be able to enter the field with as much leeway as some people.
Right. All right, so hey, the comic thing is new, but let's talk about the stuff you've done. So you've got Geekomancy. Yeah. What's the second one?
Celebromancy,
and the third one is
Attack the Geek.
Okay, and then you said there's a short story, novelette. What was it?
Yeah. So the third story is Attack the Geek, which is a novella.
Oh, that's a novella.
And it leads directly into the third full novel,
okay,
which is going to come out next summer, and that one is called Hexomancy.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. All right, so it sounds like you got a whole thing going on here. Did have you thought about having any guest writers come in and write in your universe at all?
Yeah, I'd thought a little bit. There was somebody on Twitter a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago, who had read both my series and the Magic Ex Libris series, or Libris, from Jim C. Hines,
mm-hmm.
and which is very flattering to me, because I think those books are really fun, and Jim's books have magic in books, where you, like, somebody who's a libromancer can reach into a book and pull things out.
Ah, okay.
And both series kind of started in the same summer, and they were like, it'd be really great to do a crossover there. For me, I think the collaboration needed, and just the way that IPs mix,
mm-hmm.
would mean that I'd really need to have like an ongoing, probably, friendship with the writer in question, in terms of doing like a collaboration or bringing someone in. I know that Kindle has like the Kindle World system, and that creates a bit of space and room for kind of licensed fanfic. I think I'd be more likely to talk with a writer friend and say, hey, let's do crossover stories for some anthology, and probably start in that limited fashion, as opposed to like, doing a entire co-written novel that's a massive crossover between my series and somebody else's.
Well, the only reason I brought that up was because Scott's been doing this, and a couple of people, Mur Lafferty's done this, a couple of the authors have done this, where they didn't so much collaborate on mixing their worlds. They just had a writer come in and just write a story, or write like a novella in their world, come play in their sandbox. and it just kind of sounds like what you've got going might be interesting for something like that. I think it's a pretty wide open world. There's a lot of geekdom, a lot of stuff they could do, a lot of directions you could go with it. I mean, somebody could even write something in the future, or maybe an Asian, I don't know if you get into Asia much, or other countries, but they, because like the Asian culture has its own sort of fandom, and man, some of them are really into it. So you might have a whole thing going there.
Sure, yeah. Well,
like how cool would it be to have like a Japanese writer, write somebody who lives in Japan, write a story from the Japanese social perspective, but using your world rules.
Yeah, I think that would be very cool, and I think you've hit a good reason why, and just that there are so many different ways of being a geek and practicing, love of SF&F and comics and video games and everything, and that, I write largely out of my own experience, that I don't tend to write much stuff that I don't know and like at least a little bit myself. So my main characters' fandoms mostly overlap with mine because those are the ones I can write most powerfully, and because they're the most personal to me.
Sure, absolutely.
And opening it up would let me, have a character that emerges entirely out of traditional Japanese SF&F anime fandom. Someone who wouldn't necessarily wouldn't identify as otaku, because for so many Japanese fans, the term otaku is still a denigrating one, versus American otaku, who have kind of embraced the term as an affectionate, positive one.
Okay.
Or you jump into like Chinese SNF fandom, where the main Chinese science fiction magazine has just this insanely huge readership, because you've got a very large population base in China, and that there's so many different cultures and so many different subcultures within cultures engaging with kind of what we, at least in the West, think broadly as science fiction and fantasy, as this kind of umbrella term. One of my things that I do when I'm not at my day job in writing is I'm on the Skiffy and Fanty Show, which is a SF&F podcast.
Right.
And this year we've been doing a world SF tour. So we've been talking to creators and fans from around the world, mostly where folks are bilingual and know English, because it's harder for us to set up like having simultaneous translation services and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I would know something about that.
Right. Oh yeah.
He's a sign
language interpreter, so I.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's meant that we focused more on, so we've done Finland, and we've done we're going to do Irish SF and Caribbean SF, and even in that, thinking and hearing about the different types and the different communities, even in still SF&F publishing. So there's a lot of points of commonality, but some strong cultural points of difference. It would be cool. I think the main holdup for me on kind of opening the world is that I'd have to act as an editor.
Yes.
And I've got a big backlog of novels and stories that I want to write.
Sure.
And I'm probably going to prioritize writing original fiction over kind of editing.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That would be very fun. And I thought about it before, and you've kind of added more fuel to the fire.
You're welcome. But it's all about what's going to make you money too. You know what I mean? If you can find a revenue source, from that, then, obviously the money drives the passion drives the money, which is what we all want, in the creative fields.
Right, but you know what? When you're really creative, I think you find that you have too many passions, and you just got to draw the line in places like, oh, I'd like to do this, and I'd like to do that, and I'd like to do something else, and wait, I want to learn how to do this, and you're like, like me with game design and writing and podcasting, and and just too many fucking hobbies, too little time. So I got to draw the line places. Like I basically on January 1, I sit down and go, what am I going to accomplish this year? What are this year's goals? And then I say no to everything else. If it doesn't fit within my goals, it's a no. Otherwise, I'd never get anything done. This show would have never happened unless I did that.
Yeah. No, I made got a big whiteboard, and I have right now. Let's see. I have my whiteboard planned out to October 2016, so that I can keep track of what I'm planning to write, when things are gonna get revised, when books are coming out, and if I get if I've got some stuff on proposal, and if those all sell, I won't be able to do comics probably for a while because the other stuff will have to come first.
Right.
So I think as a working creative, I have to do this weird thing where I marshal enthusiasm, and then I have to be able to be enthusiastic about several different things depending on where I have professional partnerships or the opportunities for those partnerships to emerge, because I'm mostly doing traditional publication rather than self-pub. If I were self-pubbing more, I could just be like, executive decision, I want to do this thing, and then I do it because I'd be the captain of my own ship for that, when I wouldn't need a partner in the same way. I as the publisher then would go out and get an editor and a cover artist, as opposed to having my agent try to sell stuff. So there's this thing where I have to simultaneously be my own business manager and be a writer, because my agent sells stuff for me, but I'm still the one who is piloting the ship of my career.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of writers are talking about that these days, where the days of you just being the talent are long gone. That shit's done. There's Stephen King and Anne Rice. They were super talented. They got very lucky. They were in a market that allowed them to just write stories and hand them off, and then the machine took care of the rest. But nowadays, unless you're unless you're one of them, that's not happening. You have to be your manager. You have to be you got to promote yourself, like coming on our show and talking about your stuff. You got to take the time to do that, because if you don't, nobody else will.
Yeah, and like working at a publisher, people are like, I have a publisher, they should do all this work for me. But what I found kind of as an author is that there's stuff where it's 10 times as good to do it as the author yourself than it is to have a publisher try to do it for you.
Right.
I wouldn't come onto this show as Mike Underwood, Angry Robot guy, and only talk about Angry Robot books. It wouldn't be as useful as me booking one of our authors to come on and be themselves, and in being themselves promote their work. Because I think, especially with the social media landscape, people get to love creators, at least partially because of who they are as people.
Right. Yep. You're selling yourself with your personality. So what is Angry Robot?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Angry Robot.
No, I'm serious. Sure. I mean, you're representing Angry Robot books, but what's the dynamic of that? I mean, do you work for them, or are you them? How does?
Yeah, so Angry Robot Books is a science fiction fantasy publisher, and we started publishing in 2009. That was before I came on board.
Okay.
And they're based in Nottingham in the UK, and it was founded by Mark Gascoigne, who is my boss. And we were a part of HarperCollins, and then we were a part of Osprey Publishing, which is an independent big SF publisher, and have now been sold to be a part of a new media group called Watkins Media. So basically what has changed is who my boss reports to and who's on the letterhead.
Right.
For the most part, we've been allowed to do what we want to do.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's basically Mark's vision for Angry Robot, as I understand it, is to be the cool, punky, smaller, razor sharp literary voice, but with storytelling always in mind kinds of stories. It's the kind of SNF, science fiction and fantasy and horror and WTF. So one of the mottos is giving you the best in SF, F, and WTF.
Right, I got you.
Kind of that sometimes falls through the cracks. And a lot of the books that we published, people are like, wow, I wouldn't have expected somebody to publish this, because it's not the expected kind of book.
Right.
When lots of people were getting excited about epic fantasy, we were publishing science fiction. And now we're publishing some fantasy, and that's gone pretty well. But we're also thinking about, what's something that's kind of experimental that we can do. And when we publish urban fantasy, it's got a lot of crime in it, something like Chris F. Holmes' The Collector series, which is like classic detective fiction mapped onto a struggle between heaven and hell, where the main character is a soul collector. So you've got strong crime chops because Chris Holmes is also a crime writer, and he has books that are coming out in crime specifically, and that he had an idea that was kind of left field, and he placed that with us, and We have other authors where they come to us for their creator-owned content, like Dan Abnett or Paul S. Kemp, because we're willing to take a chance on it. And because we're smaller, we can give a lot of attention to any given book that we put out. But
Right.
now we've had enough successes that we have a good reach. So we're in what I like to call kind of mid-size. Like we're a medium publisher, not necessarily as small publisher. We can punch above our weight class. What I do for Angry Robot is manage sales and marketing in North America, because the rest of the staff's in the UK, and I work with our sales partners in North America,
Okay.
which can be as mundane as like filling out spreadsheets of title information, like this book is $7, this book's ISBN is this and this and this. This book is space opera. From as basic data entry to that, all the way through being the guy who presents the books and gets the sales reps excited. So I'm the one who goes in and says, all right, so we have this new book by Ramez Nam, and it's going to be amazing. This is near future cyberpunk. The author is an award-winning nonfiction writer. He knows his tech stuff. So what you're getting is, Michael Crichton style techno thrillers with a really strong scientific background. So it combines the science and the action. We've been selling it really well. Here's book 3, go.
Right.
And I do that.
Okay.
And then I also work with the authors on their marketing plans. As an author, I kind of have a unique perspective. So we sign a new author, and they're like, I don't know what to do with social media, and this is all really scary, and I feel like I have to do 100 things all at once. Having been an author, I can say, pick one thing that you already like. Make sure you're going to do that when the book comes out. And then between now and when we launch, try a couple of things. So I get to switch between my author hat and my sales manager hat while still all kind of doing that for work. And it's a nice balance that I've been able to bring.
I got a question. With either hat that you've worn, what have you found the most effective as far as new media and a crossover of new and old media and techniques? Have you found to be most successful as far as getting books sold and, I guess, simultaneously obtaining, a fan base?
Yeah, I think there's no one solution, with the possible exception of if you have a gigantic marketing budget, you are more likely to succeed. But Robot mostly doesn't tend to have a big marketing budget. I've seen blog tours, kind of extensive and thoughtful blog tours, be very successful. Wesley Chu was one of our authors that debuted a couple years ago, and he just went all out with his blog tour. He put more than 100 hours into interviews and guest posts and podcasts, and he was just everywhere for 2 or 3 weeks. And because he was so thoughtful in doing those guest posts, they all resonated with people. Is kind of what I take away from it. But I think
T and Pip do a pretty substantial blog tour.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think any one thing can kind of help move the needle, but often when I see Angry Robot books take off, it's a combination of several things at once. It's strong blog tour, it's getting good placement in a bookstore, it's the right book came out 6 months beforehand so that people who finished it are looking for something with a similar flavor, but they're looking for something to move it even forward. So there's just so many variables. And what I try to do is help the authors and help the publishing team figure out where we're going to get the most bang for our buck in terms of marketing spend and in terms of the author's time, so that we can try to take the existing readership that we have, because there are people who are Angry Robot readers, which I think is huge.
That's cool.
Really, really great, and kind of helps us go on kind of a day-to-day and month-to-month basis, because there are readers who will say, this is a new Angry Robot book, I'm going to give it a try, because we've built trust as a company with those readers. And that means that we can take the more commercial books that we put out, and we can use those to bring people in for those readers to then try out maybe other books that are a little bit more, even stranger, maybe more literary or a little more quiet or more conceptually gonzo, just kind of crazy pants. People are like, well, this looks really weird, but I've loved the last 5 books I've read from Angry Robot. And I think doing that as a company helps our authors kind of take that trust and then build that into their own platform, so that people get to know and love those authors, and then we'll follow them through other books with us. And then if they get to the point where they're writing 2 or 3 books a year, in their writing elsewhere, that it benefits everybody.
Crap, I was looking for my book. You said Gonzo. So next week we're interviewing a Gonzo writer.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, Violet Lavoie. She was at Balticon. And
Cool.
She wrote this book called I Am Genghis Come. And I can't find it. But so I've read the first like 2 chapters of it, and it's like so I'm like, I'm gonna read this because I guess it's coming on. It looks interesting. She's really interesting. I've talked to her a couple times, online and stuff. And I was like, and it's Gonzo. I've never read anything that I would call Gonzo. Right? So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I started reading it, and I'm like hooked in now. Like it's really good. It's a really cool premise. But we'll talk about her next week. But anyway, yeah. So do you, like stuff like that, like when you say Gonzo, you mean like someone who just comes up with this really crazy, off the fucking wall, like I don't know, Cthulhu love story or something?
Yeah, we don't tend to publish work that's actually kind of categorically Gonzo or Bizarro, which are the 2 kind of subgenre terms that I'm familiar with. That's stuff that's really, really, really out there. We'll do stuff that's kind of on the edge of SF and F, kind of defined from within.
Right.
And depending on who you ask, some of our books may be in or out of those boundaries. And I do like that we're kind of pushing at the borders. We had an epic fantasy book that came out just a couple months ago called The Mirror Empire by Cameron Hurley, and I think it really pushes on the edges of epic fantasy and challenges some assumptions that tend to be unchallenged in the genre. They're just kind of, because you're writing epic fantasy, you're going to do these things. And The Mirror Empire goes, well, why? Like, what if we do things in a different way? And as a writer who's also a reader, I love that we have the opportunity to pick up those books and help kind of foster authors and support their efforts in kind of poking at the walls, or sometimes showing up with a sledgehammer and some dynamite.
That's cool. Yeah, because I told you I wrote a couple of short stories. The short stories I've written are based in a world that I've created. It's for a role-playing game that's on the next year's docket. That's one of the ones I've been put on because it's almost finished. But to finish it, when you say a role-playing game's almost finished, it means you still got like a shit ton of work to do because it's that little stuff that's difficult. But the world is it's what I'm calling science-based fantasy. So it's a fantasy world, but everything has to work within the realms of science. Yeah. But it also has to have the fantasy feel. So you have to have the different races. You have to have all the tropes of fantasy. I even created my own pseudoscience to get the magic to work.
Sure.
But it's like so that's a different take on fantasy. It all came about because I never wanted to write anything fantasy. And I was having a discussion with somebody, and they're like, why don't you want to write fantasy? And I was like, well, because of this and this and this and this. And they were like, well, how would you fix that? And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, well, or like, how would you do it? And I started coming up with ways that I would do it. I was like, well, maybe I'd probably do this, and then to fix this, I'd do that. And next thing you know, I was like, fuck, now I got to write this.
Now you're writing one. Right?
Right, so now I'm writing it.
Well, I think that's one of the best places to get started on an idea is to be dissatisfied with something that's come before, or to think that you can go even further. Because if science fiction fantasy is like a big conversation, there are some scholars who call it the long conversation, and that new works are in dialogue with older works and carry the conversation forward. So if you are like, these things bug me, and something that gets under your skin is motivation, like that's a kind of passion, right? And then you dig into that and you transform it into something new. I think that could be really powerful.
Yeah,
I agree.
So when I get around to doing that, I'll have to hook you up because you're a gamer. You'll probably like it. I would hope.
Yeah.
I would think.
For science fantasy, I'd definitely have you take a look at Numenera.
Yeah. Okay. Monty Cook's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because that's got like a science fantasy feel in very much like a Gene Wolfe. It's so far into the future that the science feels like fantasy.
Yeah. I'm familiar with it. And now, just so you know, in mine there is no science, as in. No one has laser guns or anything like that. It's fantasy, and it's set in a fantasy genre. It's just that, like, for example, one of my problems was, I'll just go this real quick. One of my problems is multiple top-level races on the same planet. Like, I'm sorry, but during the evolutionary process, one of those would have wiped out the other ones, or you wouldn't have all these multiple ones. It just wouldn't work like that. And how did they develop on these continents this way? Well, I had to solve that issue. So then I went through and I did all my groundwork, and I solved that from a scientific standpoint. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But it's sword and sorcery, but it's just I can explain everything.
You scientifically explain the magic.
Yes. Yeah.
heard that also described as hard fantasy, like hard science fiction.
Right.
That you can describe anything in 15 different ways.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because like Star Wars I call Star Wars science fantasy.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that.
Right.
So yeah, that's very cool, and good luck with that. I definitely like
thanks.
to take a look at it when you've got it in a place to share.
Cool, absolutely. All right, so let's enough about me. Let's talk about you. So let's move on to the book you got coming out called The Younger Gods.
Yes.
And
So that came. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I'm listening.
So it came out today, and it is a supernatural thriller. So it's once you get started, it kind of keeps hammering away because the premise is the main character, Jacob Green, was raised in a loving, supportive family of apocalyptic cultists. And they're all sociopaths, and they regard humanity as sheep. And they want to bring about the last age because for centuries and centuries, they've been kind of making sacrifices and bargains with kind of creatures deep beneath the earth, trying to build toward kind of bringing about the apocalypse by unearthing these younger gods who are, children of the kind of the first gods who'd been locked away in the deep places in the earth to keep kind of the celestial cycle from turning. Because like in Greco-Roman mythology, you've got like the younger gods always overthrow the older gods.
Right.
You have the Titans overthrown by the gods, and then the gods are like, oh no, our children will overthrow us. So I took that and kind of tried to run with it. Like, okay, if you're a god and you know that your children will overthrow you, like you're going to make them go away.
Right.
Then what happens if you've got a group of people who are dedicated to bringing them back? So Jacob, the lead, doesn't know that anything is wrong until his best friend, like the one friend who's not in the family, gets sacrificed by the family. And as this friend is killed, Jacob realizes that everything he's been raised with is a lie, that other people kind of don't work like this, and that humanity and empathy for other people, this thing that he feels, is not unique to him. It's just absent from his family. So he runs away from home and he tries to kind of learn how to be a real boy. He feels for other people, but he does not understand them.
Right.
So you've got this awkward sorcerer trying to kind of make his way through college, and then his sister shows up to kickstart the apocalypse. And this is his older sister who's always been better at sorcery. She's always been better at wrestling. She's always been like the golden child. So he can't compete with her, and so he needs to make friends and allies to try to stop her from collecting these 5 artifacts around the city because it's in New York, so one per borough, to then raise one of the younger gods. And that's the story.
So is this going to be part of a trilogy, or is this is a standalone, or?
It stands alone, and then the ending kind of opens up toward possibilities in the future. Right now I just have the one story in that world kind of written and published.
Right.
So if there's an incredible response and people are really eager to see what comes next, then that definitely kind of that's something that I would think about when I adjust kind of what my overall trajectory is as a writer.
Right. Okay.
I throw things out there and then see where it's going to go. I was actually just talking earlier today, because it's launch day, with my fiance about kind of where I could see this world going forward. And from where it is now, at the end of the first book, there's a few different ways. So I'm interested to see kind of what's going to work out, when I can get to it, because all of these are just fun things that I'm really excited by. It's like, I love this thing, and I love that thing.
Right.
Like you're saying, you've got all these passions.
Yep.
So that it's marrying the business realities with the plurality of excitement of projects.
Dude, that's every creative. Everybody I know who's creative is struggles with that's my struggle. I just want to make stuff. And then of course until you're able to make enough good stuff that people can, latch onto, or you get fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time and, catch fire. You have your day job that you have to do on top of, trying to be creative. And I don't know, in my case, like I have a kid, and, there's just all these other things that take precedence. And hey, Mike, how's the jungle there?
You catching the birds?
I
don't know why there's.
Yeah, we're catching the birds. Killing me with the birds.
Use your magical control and turn it down. No, I don't know, God.
All right.
Look, this is not going to be like in the what is that movie where the woman's in the back of the bus. I'm not going to kill my birds, okay?
Shut up the show. All right, so
what was that? What was that?
I don't remember.
I think that was Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. So, so the Younger Gods comes out today. Now, do you do like any kind of you do ebooks? I'm sure, right? And print. And then
so the Younger Gods and the Re-Res series, the Geekomancies, those are all with a digital first imprint. So
Okay.
they're ebook and then audio, and the audio for Younger Gods is coming soon, but they're not in print yet.
okay. Oh, audiobook.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Hey,
Who's doing your audiobook?
might actually read these.
Yeah, so the Re-Res books and the Younger Gods are all with audible.com.
Okay.
They picked up the audio rights. And so the Re-Res books, the second one and the novella are both done by Mary Robinette Kowal, who's an award-winning writer as well as an audiobook performer, and she's amazing, and she loves the character, so those performances are just phenomenal. And the Younger Gods audio we haven't cast yet because it's still in early production. We just announced the sale of the rights a couple of weeks ago. With this kind of stuff, it's always farther along than the announcement says. But the audio on that will probably come out maybe November toward the end of the year. Very excited for that one as well because it's such a voice-driven story because it's first person versus the other ones are all in third. So it's it's the character. It's Jake saying, "I did this. I do that. I see this." So it's going to make it really kind of in your face as an audio experience because it's going to be very unfiltered.
So they're gonna have this. They're gonna cast this, record it, get it all done by the end of the year.
Probably based on the experiences that I've had in terms of the production cycle, that Audible, if they find a narrator, say tomorrow, I'm going to make up the time scale, which is not going to be what Audible's actually doing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They got their own thing, and I'm not as involved in that part because they know what they know what they do. They're great at it. If they picked a narrator tomorrow, they'd send them the book. The narrator would have maybe 1 to 2 weeks to prep, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. And they have the narrator come into one of their production studios, and then they'd record the book probably over 2 to 4 days, depending on the length. Younger Gods is a bit shorter, so it might only be 2 full days of recording. Because in audio, I'm guessing it's going to be 8 or so hours.
Right.
So not as long as something like Game of Thrones. The first Game of Thrones book is like 35 hours an audiobook, which is insane. I write smaller, punchier books.
Right.
I started reading it, and I couldn't get past the prologue yet. I've even seen the show, and I still can't get past the prologue. It's so just long.
Yeah, that's a book I like to watch. It has been a great book to watch. So,
yeah, on the shelf. No.
All right, so awesome. So Younger Gods is out as an ebook, and then of course going to be audiobook by the end of the year, and then print run at some point, possibly Dead Tree version.
The Pocket, the publisher, has the print rights, so it's just a question of them deciding when it would make sense to do print editions.
Okay.
So the better it does in ebook, the more likely a print is, and that's just kind of the business reality. Otherwise, I'm kind of moving forward, looking at other projects as well.
Sweet.
The Shield and Crocus, which came out in June, is available in print because that was with a different publisher. So that one is print, ebook, and audio that all came out on the same day.
Cool. I just happen to have that image up next. So let's talk about that real quick. So Shield and Crocus is looks like a fantasy book. And
yeah. So
yes, okay.
Shield and Crocus is a fantasy novel with a superhero plot. Because I had been reading things like China Mieville's Pretty to Street Station, Jeff Vandermeer's City of Saints and Madmen, KJ Bishop's The Etched City, and I loved this like weird, it's called New Weird, like fantasy with transforming bodies and strange settings and politics and science fiction and fantasy and horror all smashed in together. And I was really inspired by that, and I wanted to take the New Weird and something else I loved, superheroes, and use them to make each other more awesome in the same way like we were talking about that a lot of time you get inspired by something that you wish could go further or wish was better. And what I wanted to do was take the action and the optimism and the kind of inventiveness of superheroes and combine it with the political punch and the genre mashiness and the weird transformations and no holds barred aspects of the new weird. Right. So with that one, you've got a city built among the bones of a titan. So that the cover is like this big rack-off skull with a tower and a cityscape on it. That's an actual skull of a dead god that fell to Earth. The Titan Audek fell to Earth, died, and now only his bones remain, and people built a city up and around them. And the main characters are the only group who are standing against the tyrants who took the city over. So about 50 years ago, a former senator in the city burned the Senate building to the ground and declared herself the new tyrant. And then other kind of monstrous villain characters came in. So you've got a gangster, a cyborg, a sorcerer, a madman, and a slaver, and they've carved the city up because since it's in kind of body shape, the arm and the right shoulder belongs to this guy, and the leg belongs over here, and the sorcerer tyrant basically magically hacked the city goddess who protected and looked over the city, and instead of using her power to encourage and unite people, he uses her power to intimidate and divide them. So the shields, hence Shield and Crocus, are the only people who are standing up to these tyrants. So they're superheroes, but they're anti-establishment instead of pro-establishment. They're trying to tear down a bad order instead of protecting a good one.
I see. So it's Occupy Titan.
Yeah, and like the first draft was written way before any of the Occupy stuff. This was back 2007, 2008. But already, nothing comes out of nowhere.
Right.
You're going to have you're going to have the people's inclination and desire to resist exploitative systems. Right?
Sure. And that's what good science fiction and fantasy is all about. It's the best stories are the ones where the story isn't the magic or the different races or the trappings of the magic items or whatever. It's the story that's being told. I mean, that's essentially, you look at take Tolkien, it's all about the story. I mean, you don't really get a feel for what the characters can do. Like, I mean, discussions with what can Gandalf do, and nobody really knows. He's like, I forget, somebody said he never cast anything higher than a 3rd level magic spell or something like that in the stories, but it was about the story. It wasn't about right. the little trappings and stuff, and good sci-fi should be that way as well.
Yeah, I think there are readers who love the fiddly bits. They love rich world building, or they love crazy magic systems, and that as writers, we can fulfill those aesthetic interests, but that if you've got an amazing world and a cool magic system, but you couldn't care less about the characters because they're flat as cardboard, and the action is, and the kind of the plotting is weak, then it's probably not going to be a book that gets remembered as well as maybe something that was a little bit more kind of run-of-the-mill, but the characters, you cannot forget them. Like Lord of the Rings, you've got Frodo, and you've got Gollum, and you've got Sam, and they're like id, ego, super ego, and it all comes down to, like, as Gandalf said, that the mercy of Bilbo may kind of spare many, many lives.
Right.
And what seem like small decisions by these characters end up having huge repercussions, and it's very much about their personal journeys. And I think if you do nothing else, give me a cool character that I'm passionate to follow.
Right.
Right. I think, like you were saying, especially if you're reproducing a story, or I guess sort of rewriting not copying some other story, but sort of what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say
emulate
a topic that is very ubiquitous, and if you've been able to do that story in a creative, wonderful way, then you did it justice. But if you sucked, then you suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well said, Mike. Well said. No.
I know words.
You got words.
I has words. Meow.
Yeah, because it's all been told, right? Every story under the sun.
Right.
And for me, I think you can still be inventive and you can still come up with new combinations of things.
Yes.
Or if you're gonna tell like a straight up sword and sorcery story, like this is a story about two guys who are in way over their heads, and the bad guys all have magic and they're doing terrible things, and all the good guys really want to do is not die. Like, fairly straightforward premise. But if those two characters are incredibly memorable, if you fall in love with them, or if the way that they relate to each other is different than what's come before, I think you can have content ingenuity and you can have execution ingenuity. And I love both when I can get it, but I think neither of them is better than the other in terms of like kind of adding to the field. Because if you have these incredible, amazing ideas, but maybe the execution was okay, somebody else can say, I love those ideas, and here's my new interpretation on them. And then they can continue to carry it forward.
Mike, that's like just what I said, okay? I mean, it's just
Except
exactly
better.
what I said, okay?
Except,
You retold my story with a little twist, and now you're okay.
Yes, but without you, I would be nowhere.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
Just don't do that. Don't give him that.
I'm going to isolate that.
Don't give him that. Don't do it. All right, so real quick, because we're coming up on the interview time. So you have want to talk about real quick before we move on to the other part of the show. You have the Skiffy and Fanty show. What is that?
What?
Because I got the picture. There's an alien and a unicorn, so I'm already intrigued. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. So
so the Skiffy and Fanty show is a Hugo Award nominated fan cast. So it's a podcast. And there's basically a category in the Hugos that's for fan podcasts, and we were nominated this year. We did win. This SF Signal podcast won, and they're amazing. So, bully for them. But we were nominated, which is super rad. I will wear that little cool rocket nominated for the Hugo pin to my grave. So cool. And what we do is we mostly talk to science fiction and fantasy prose writers, and this year we've been talking to people all around the world, and talking to folks about science fiction fantasy all around the world. So we'll talk to creators, and then we sometimes do episodes that are more like this, that are just a bunch of people getting together and talking about TV or movies or comics or sometimes video games. I want to do more comics and video games if I can, but this is several things down my priority list. And
it's on the whiteboard. Oh wait, no, it's not.
Yeah, right.
Wait a minute, hold on. It's on the whiteboard.
Right. Reprioritize.
Right.
Yeah, it was created by Sean Duke and Jen Zink, and Sean is kind of the mastermind right now, and he's brought in other contributors, including myself, and we tend to put out 1 or so episodes a week, sometimes as many as 5 a month, because we go to conventions and then we record a whole bunch and then we sprinkle them out, like I imagine you do.
Yes. Yep, I got several of them sitting on my desktop right now, waiting to be edited. Just waiting, sitting there.
Put a pin in that, will you?
Right. So, all right, so that's cool.
I got one.
Hugo,
I got one last question.
Hold on, before you ask the question, Hugo, why aren't we in that? What the hell? Because we were nominated for a Parsec
we didn't get
this year.
Pin,
no,
but we were nominated.
So we were all happy. Anyway, go ahead, Mike. What's your question?
Oh, what was my question? My question was, and for those of you who don't know, I don't think we mentioned this, but Mike Underwood hails from Baltimore. So all three of us, the two Mikes and the Pete, we all hail from Baltimore, from the Maryland. I don't know specifically, Mike, where you're from locally, but you could say it, and no one else other than the people, the three of us would know. But I saw that you went to the Baltimore Book Festival, and I was wondering. I used to frequent that in the past. I haven't been there so much anymore. What is your take on it, and how has it been? Is it more of in an upswing, or is it in a decline? And what does that do for your business? The local actually, feet on the streets kind of interaction with fans.
Yeah, so I've been to the Book Fest twice now. Last year it was up in Mount Vernon, and this year, because of the construction in Mount Vernon, they were down in the Inner Harbor, which means that it was a very different layout. and
Probably
I love that
better
there was more space for everything, but I was in the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America tent, and we were kind of really tucked away in the back. It was like the romance writers tent, and they were really hopping because romance is huge.
Right.
And then there were, the Ivy Bookstore had a tent, and they were doing some stuff. So it was very, very active for me. I think I love how much kind of content for kids there is, because if you get kids reading early on and you make them passionate readers, they'll probably be readers for their whole lives, and then they'll read everything. Is your hope? I think for me, it's mostly that it's a local festival and it's a way to contribute to kind of the local literary scene. I don't think it did as much for my business. Like I brought books and then a friend and colleague sold them, and I didn't move a whole ton. But I was thinking of that weekend and that event as much about kind of paying it forward. Talking about business with people who are interested in writing and kind of being a public service, since it's a free festival and it's a way for people to get some of the content like from Balticon, but with zero cost. Somebody just off the street can wander down to the Inner Harbor and get access to these writers and this kind of conversations that often are kind of locked away in hotels and then hotel bars.
Well, it's supposed to be now. Come on there, Mike. It's supposed to be the Baltimore Book Festival there, and down there in Baltimore. So
Baltimore Dead Tree Festival.
Right. So down here.
What's all these books down here?
I'm a recent transplant, so I'm not a Baltimore native.
Okay. Oh.
Hey, we got to tell you where you need to go all over Baltimore and get all the scenes. Go to Osteen, get the Domino Sugar Plant. You can get all the museums and the libraries.
Hey, don't forget going down to the Hun Festival there in Hamden.
Up in Hamden and hit that Cafe Hun. Oh.
Oh shit, that's funny. All right. So
I was not expecting that as a part of this evening. I'm taken aback in the best kind of way.
We're Baltimore natives, born and bred.
Hey, I'll always take you aback the best kind of way. Don't you worry.
Hello. All right, so Mike, why don't
wait, hold on. I had a comment about the Baltimore Book Festival.
Oh, sorry.
I'm surprised. Why didn't you go into the Gonzo tent? I'm sure that was hopping.
I
probably no Gonzo tent.
I don't know. I think there was the Radical Book tent actually, and there may have been some Gonzo Radical book crossover. Just because if you're radical on one side, you might as well be like radical formally. But I stood in the SF and tent for the most time, and tried not to wander around too much because I'm actually still recovering from a knee injury from earlier this year.
Oh. All right, so Mike, where can everybody find your stuff?
Yeah, I'm at michaelrunderwood.com, just my byline spelled out. I'm also on Twitter at Mike R. Underwood, where I am active entirely too much.
Yes.
And sometimes it's even for my day job, which is handy. It combines. And then the latest book, The Younger Gods, is available for all ebook formats everywhere in the world.
Yes.
Where finer electronic podcasts and books are sold.
And of course, we'll have all the links and stuff below the show, but this is just in case somebody catches it somewhere else or they're listening to it on our podcast, which we're trying to get up and running. We actually got it. We finally got the podcast portion of this show running again. I just got to port all the episodes over now. So.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. But anyway, all right, well, thanks for coming on the show. You going to stick around with us and play a game?
I would love to stick around for a game. I've probably got until 11, if that's okay.
But what time is it? Yeah, okay, we got time. Mike, do the game.
Okay.
Are you ready? Oh, you're not ready?
All right. I have one visually prepared, and I have another one that we can play if you want, where I have the numbers tallied. Where this was a beta test of a new game.
Let's do the new one.
Say what?
Let's do the new one. Let's go. Let's do the.
Yeah, let's run it through the paces.
Yeah, Peter. Yes, I have. Of the new one, I have one that has a visual aid, like one set of questions. One question has visual aid, the other one doesn't.
Oh, I got
so
you.
There are two prepared. There you go.
I'm tracking
it. It is.
Now.
Yeah.
So you got two questions prepared for it?
Yeah.
You've got two whole questions.
Two whole questions. Yes, I do. Two whole ones.
What happened to the 6 we talked about?
I have 6. I counted and tallied all 6, but I don't have them actually propagated to the counts of each sub reticulations. So what I have is 2 questions. You dig?
You're killing me. All right.
I'm gonna get my game face on here.
Now,
All right.
I'm a very busy man over here, so I'm gonna ask you, Pete, if you can run the well, I guess we're gonna do a dice roller.
Yeah.
And,
hold on. Give me a second here. Let me. I got you. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, there we go. All right. Sorry. I had it all loaded before. It had to reload it. What the hell was that? Okay. So yeah. So we'll do this.
So, and what I'm gonna do is a screen share.
All right. So hold on, Mike.
Uh,
I'm gonna go ahead and roll.
okay.
Mike, you'll be the first number, and I'll be the second one. Okay.
Okay.
So let me clear this. Go away. Roll that. Boom, boom. Okay, Mike, you go first. You see my little...
Okay,
11
so
and
Mike
10
is
thing?
first.
Yep, yep.
All right, Mike. This is what we're doing. And Pete, you got me on the
Yes, I do.
so present to everyone. Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I am doing a screen share, Mike. You should be able to just look at. You can look at mine. Pete has it up there. Do you need me to center it or do a?
Nope, you're good.
Do a full screen.
You are good.
Just like it is.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this is what we're playing, Mike, and we're beta testing this. We have gone actually at Balticon is where I got a significant amount, and also some online like Survey Monkey type stuff. We did a survey. It's called Survey Says, but basically it's like Family Feud style. So
yeah.
What I did is I surveyed top 100 geeks were asked, and the top 8 answers are on the board. Basically, to name a popular superhero, and this is what we're going to do. You are going to have, and since I'm going to say because it's only 2 of you, and we're gonna have a little bit more of a chance. I'm going to go with 2 strikes for tonight, but I think Pete, you're right. We were probably going to go with 1. Is that?
Yep.
Is that okay? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Just do it. Go ahead.
So instead of it being 3 strikes, but you're your own family, and it is up to you, yourself, and you, plural, to come up with the most number 1 answer before you strike out, and it goes over to Pete, and he can see if he can collect any points. Okay.
So basically, if you name somebody who's not in the top 8, that's a strike.
Right.
But as long as you can keep answering ones that are in the top 8. Yep. All right, so go ahead.
So, yes, name a popular superhero.
Okay, I'm going to start with Batman.
Batman. Show me Batman. Ding! There we go.
Wow. Very nice.
I am the knight.
And, yes, there we go. So I don't know how that translated because the the whole, I thought if I double click and the highlight you'll at least get that kind of
Yeah,
thing
we did.
going.
It worked. Yep.
All right.
Nice.
So Ed, you got
keep
26.
going?
Basically, your pointage goes to the amount of the that you get for the survey respondents.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you get to go again.
Keep going.
Let's go. Show me Iron Man.
Iron Man, show me Iron Man. It would really suck if I get the wrong one, wouldn't it? There we go. 7 points.
All right, should I just keep going?
Just keep on going at your leisure.
All right, let's say Superman. Trying to
Show
balance
me.
between iconic stuff and the things that are already in Marvel superhero movies.
That is correct. Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Let's see. Superman.
Wow, he's that low. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I know.
Right,
Let's see. That was
I'm
7.
gonna bet Spider-Man is in one of those number 2 or number 3 spots.
Show me Spider-Man. I'm just kidding.
Right.
Hey, Pete, do the math
All right.
for me on this, will you? Well,
I'll take care of it.
Okay. And what do you got next for me?
Let's go with.
Actually, I think we're going to go with one strike because you're doing well.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is pretty easy.
Okay. Well, yeah, because like I've got a pretty decent chance. Let's go Captain America.
Captain America. Where do you think he would be? I think he's right here. Captain. I think he got ripped off, but you know, that's just me. What do you say?
Now I'm trying to do my math and figure out who that number 3 slot is.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because I would have thought Iron Man because Robert Downey Jr. is very popular. I'm gonna hope that Wonder Woman is number 3.
All right. Well, let's see. Nope.
Wow.
You still
Number
get
7.
5 more
All right.
points.
Okay. Let's see, so I'm gonna bet that Thor is one of these remaining 2, just because he's had 2 movies.
Show me Thor.
Son of a bitch. Okay, go ahead.
And I have showed you
Gee.
Thor. So who could that number 3
Yeah,
be?
let me take a step back here. So I've got Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor from the Avengers. We've got Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman from Trinity on the DC side. We've got Spider-Man on Marvel. I'm betting that the number 3 is not any of the X characters. Oh, it could be Wolverine. Let's go Wolverine.
Crap.
Show me
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I knew it was going to be Wolverine, damn it.
There you go. Good job. All right. Well, you got your. Now remember, it's not gonna. You don't get 100 points because you know there were plenty of what do you call that? Outlying answers. So what do we have here total, Pete?
I'm working on it. 31, 38, 8, 3, 5, 6, 7.
If you
78.
think my words. What is it? 78?
78, yep.
All right, 78. If you think my words is this issue sometimes is, you should hear my maths. All right, so unfortunately I don't have the same pretty thing as I have with I can't show you, but I can you know still hit the ding ding because I have them all worked out.
Hey! Watch what you're hitting there.
What?
Don't hit me in a ding ding.
All right, so Pete, your question is.
Hold on. Yep,
Name.
Okay.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I was just checking my math here.
Name a popular Star Trek captain.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Kirk.
All right. Well, that is in the number 1 spot. Believe it or not.
Shocker. Okay. All right. Then of course Picard.
Picard. That is number 2.
Okay.
Which is kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yes. Number 2.
That was with 35, as a matter of fact.
So Picard was 35?
Yes.
Damn.
And
Kirk was what, like
Right.
78?
No, he was 42.
42.
And I'm actually quite surprised that at the next one in the number 3 spot.
I'm going to say Janeway.
Wow, you magnificent bastard, you. You would be correct at 10.
She's number 3?
She is number 3 at 10.
All right. So then we're going to go with Archer. He's not on there at all?
He had one outlier, but I'm sorry. You had to have at least 3 in order to make the list.
Fuck. All right. There's only... Damn. That's bullshit. All right, so that's only... Hey,
Bullshit!
hey, you know what, Mike? You're up.
You're up, Mike.
Let's see. Cisco is not on your list yet, right? Go back.
No, and I apologize for that. Yes, there is, since we don't see it. Just so you know, we have Kirk, Picard, and Janeway.
Yeah. Let's go Benjamin
Numbers
Cisco.
1, 2, and 3. Okay, Benjamin Sisko rounds down at 6 for number 4.
Okay.
All right. Now
And we have
get
2 spots, the last 2 spots.
Now things get tricky. How about Captain Pike?
You get
For the old school
you get the number 6 spot, and you know what? I do apologize. There were top 6 answers are on the board, and so you get number 6 spot at Christopher Pike, and so we have the number 5 spot. Now,
Wait a minute, how many points is
I wanted
Pike?
to say this, huh?
How many points is Pike?
Pike is 4.
Okay.
And I want to, it's not necessarily a hint, but I should have said this, that most of these answers, or some of these answers were gathered from Balticon. So, you know how there are, quote, purists, quote, tends to be sort of an outlying crowd and a more eccentric literary crowd. Just to point that out there. As you know, Mike.
All right, so there's only one left, Mike. Can you round this out, or do I get a chance to steal it?
I'm trying to decide between going like Sulu, who was a captain in one of the movies, or to go with Mr. Spock, who was acting captain in the reboot movies. So I'm going to go thinking kind of contemporary pop culture with Spock. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to go for the Sulu spot.
Yep.
Yes. That would be 5 for Mr. Sulu.
Holy shit. All right, so is that it?
That is it. So that would be...
I pulled a win out of my ass.
Hyperu Sulu.
Those first two answers are worth a huge number of
points.
points.
Yeah, they were humongous.
Yeah.
So it's 92 me, 88 Mike. I win.
Wow. That's good. Okay, so this was a good first try, good first beta. You might even say this is alpha.
Right. This needs a little work, but I think it'll be a good game.
So
yeah, I wonder if you limit the number of answers that are listed, that makes it trickier.
Yeah, I think
because with 8, it wasn't as hard to run the table.
Right. I agree.
Right.
I think Mike, we need to keep them all at 5.
At 5? Well, it's funny because
don't show me this.
I'm going to give you an example of another question. All right.
Okay.
And if somebody's listening and they want to cheat later, that's fine. But name a sci-fi fantasy. Name the name of a sci-fi fantasy starship. Mm-hmm. That is pretty broad. So I chose these because they were very ubiquitous, and the answers were going to be very honed in. But there's other ones that are like name a villain that you identify with, things like that, where they're more broad range, and I think that's going to, when we have some of the ones that are you can run the board, and other ones where it's going to be back and forth, or hand it off to the next person. I think that it's going to be better. But what do you think, Mike? Did you have until I can find some sort of a what is that called? What did I say? Like a PowerPoint type of thing where I'll be able to have them just click a button and have it show up. I think that worked, didn't it? Was there enough intensity in your?
Yeah, I think there's the fun of trying to run the board. I wonder if it might be more balanced if you just have the people who are answering kind of alternate, like you just go down the line.
That might be interesting.
It makes it less like Family Feud, but it means that when you have a category where there's some really heavy hitters, like in the Trek characters, those first 2 were worth 70 points together?
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost.
Yeah. 77 points.
It makes it a little bit different. There's also a question of correcting for how many total points are available in a question.
Yeah. You know what, Pete? I think he has a really good point. I think the act of rolling will give you an advantage as far as having a first crack at it, and then just going down the line. I think that's actually a really good idea. I like that.
You could still have like strikes, in that if you strike out, you're out of that category. So if right off the bat I went for something that wasn't on the board, then so you've got to hedge your bets. You got to go for the known quantities, so that you're not like, if 1, 4, and 5 are selected out of 7, you don't want to try and find something that's number 6 and number 7. You got to go to the top.
Exactly.
You can't be like, I'm going to try to be sneaky and find the one that nobody knows. You've got to prioritize,
right?
Because if you're more vulnerable to being bumped out of the game, then you're gonna do what the game is asking, which is find me the most popular one, right?
Right.
Exactly, which is
Yeah.
going to get you the most points. So
Yes.
I like that. I kind of like that. It's definitely we're going to do that. And just so you know, there'll be some theme music, and I'll have sound effects. I could not get the sound effects in time. I cannot find the, that actual twist ding. I haven't been able to find it yet. I found that it's I have a copy of the, but
yeah, no, it'll be good. We'll get there. Mike and I were talking about it today, and he said, he's like, I got a couple questions ready. I was like, fuck it, let's do a beta on it. Let's or an alpha or whatever you want to call it. Let's run it because I know you do a lot of gaming type stuff, so you have a basic understanding of game theory and the how you need to run points and stuff like that. So I thought you'd have a good time with that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to help.
And, thank you.
Okay, so let's real quick. We got you for a few more minutes. So you wanna talk some news with us?
Yeah,
wait, hold on. We got to do our what we're geeking on, right? Real quick.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. Yep.
Because I think it'd be better to find out what Mike's geeking on. If he has to run off, then you and I'll just do the schmooze. I mean the news.
All right, right. There we go.
Okay, so we do this thing. It's just like what we're geeking on, and we'll let you go first. But basically, or if you need some time to think, we can, you can skip. But it's basically if you've been either reading anything, what you've been binging on TV or video games, or catching up on. Doesn't matter if it's how old. I have a oldie but a goodie that I have to come out of the closet on that I haven't seen yet that I watched. It's that kind of a thing. Anything geek related. Maybe there's people who paint models. I've just been painting models all for a long time. Or I've been really geeking out on some old school D&D or whatever. So.
Oh man, I have too many options. So let's go with The Middleman, which is a television show from a few years back that I watched when it was on, and have now been going back to because I was talking about it actually on a different podcast, and it reminded me of how much I love it. So The Middleman is like what would happen if you took Men in Black and smushed it together with the animated Tick. Oh. So it's this crazy, wacky, zany, urban fantasy, science fiction, superhero-y kind of story. The main character is Wendy Watson, who's a temp and a painter. And she just wants a temp job so she has enough money so she can do her art, right? She wants a stable day job. And she gets recruited to this insane temp agency, which is actually the front for a superhero organization that fights against monsters and aliens and creatures from another dimension. And it's incredibly funny. It's very wry and super pop culture-y. So every episode they tend to have an reference. There's one episode that's tons of Ghostbusters references because they're dealing with ghosts. But they're always taking a trope and twisting it, like we were saying, where you take something that's known, but you give a new delivery, and it's very much making the familiar new in a very cool, funny way.
And if any one of us were interested in checking that out, where could we find that?
I think it may be on Netflix. The DVDs are definitely available, and they actually just started a big web store at o2stk.com where you can get comics, the comic version of the show, and I think the DVDs. That's The Middleman.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else? I mean, it doesn't have to be just into one thing. If there's a couple of different things you've been doing.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Shadow of Mordor, the video game, because it's Assassin's Creed and it's like the Arkham Batman games, and you smash them together and you're fighting Uruk-hai, and that's just marvelous fun. Putting aside, how much murder there is in it, it's tons of murderation. You are a one-person genocide in Mordor. It's pretty ridiculous.
Cool. I like the sound of that.
Sounds good. All right, Peter?
All right, so my geeking on is I've been very busy, so we're trying to buy a house, so we're trying to sell a house and blah, blah, blah. But I did manage to squeeze in the season premiere of Walking Dead, and I won't spoil. No spoilers because we don't do that. But holy shit, that was good.
Right?
It was very anticipated. I think probably one of the most anticipated season premieres in a long time because they left last season on a fucking, oh my God, on such a cliffhanger.
Seriously.
So, everybody's just like, what are they going to... And the way they executed this was really cool because I honestly thought they were going to go a completely different direction with the season. I thought where the season's going now is nothing. It's nowhere I thought it was going to go, which is cool. They basically, about halfway through the episode, they basically took the wheel and went, and well, not even halfway through, about a third of the way through. Would you say, Mike? Yeah, it starts out, the stuff is going on, and I'm like thinking, oh, okay, well, this is going to be blah, 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 because I don't want to spoil anything. And then all of a sudden, off we go. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, my wife and I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but, it would have been tonight, but I had to do a show.
Right,
so,
my already
tomorrow night.
My already favorite character does even more awesome things in that episode.
Okay.
So I'll leave it that vague for Mike.
Cool. Yeah. Don't spoil it for our co-host. He'd be all kinds of mad.
All right. All right. Is that it, Pete?
That's it.
You've
for
been
me.
busy.
Yeah, I've been busy. That's all I've had time for.
You've been geeking out in the hospital. You've been geeking out at the doctor's
Yeah. I spent a little time in the hospital. Not for me,
Not
for my
you,
wife.
but,
Yeah.
So anyway, all right.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make. This is a MythWits confessional, okay? And I feel like maybe we need to start doing these once in a while when it's like, forgive me, Pete, for I have sinned. There is something that I should have indulged in a long time ago, and I have not. And I'm coming clean only because I have, finally seen it. And that is...
You've seen a vagina.
No. No, dude. I mean, we cannot say geeking out on porn, okay? Because that's just.
No, go ahead, go.
That's a given.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. I feel like my wife. You promise you won't be mad at me? You promise you won't be mad? Okay.
Now that you've said that, I can't.
All right. I just watched Serenity.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes. I just watched Serenity, and it's just been one of those things where it's like, whenever it comes up, I'm always somewhere where I can't watch it, or I'm in some video service where it's not available, and it was just like, hey, it's here. I am way overdue, so I finally watched it, and I was pretty impressed. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Whatever that guy's name is Epic Death, which I've already seen that Epic Death scene. You can't be in the geek world and not have seen that already. But
I'm like a feather in the wind. I'm like a feather in the wind.
I'm a feather on the leaf. What is it? I'm a leaf on the wind.
Leaf on the wind. Yeah, I'm a leaf on the wind.
And I really like that guy as an actor too. But yeah, it was good, and maybe I'll check out the series now because I haven't seen that either.
All right. So I'll admit. All right. So here we go.
Oh, that's right. You have a couple of cardinal sins too.
I'm a geek and I have sinned. I haven't seen. I have not seen the series. I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes, and from what I've been told, this happened to a lot of people early on, and it's why maybe one of the reasons why I didn't get picked up, as well as it should have, is because they aired them out of order, and it's one of those shows where you really got to watch it in order. So I tried to watch the show, and I was kind of like, meh. And they said, no, you need to watch the first episode first to get hooked into the show. If you try and pick it up later in the series, it doesn't work out as well.
Right.
Yeah, the character arcs are really, I think, immaculately constructed. The way that they were meant to be.
Right.
So having them out of order was just crazy, and it's been so long since I watched the airing order that I don't even really remember what it was, other than it was terrible. And I did watch the show from the very beginning. It's one of my kind of badges of geek pride, is that I watched the original order, and I liked it. But then when I got to see everything in order, I loved it.
Yeah. See, I might take a chance, take the time to go back. But there's so many shows I got to catch up on. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I mean,
it's the advantage of being shorter, because it's just 12 episodes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could bang the whole thing out in a weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe when I get my vasectomy.
So, all right, and there's one other quick thing, and Mike, while I even have you here, maybe if you wouldn't mind helping us out on this, and that is that I don't know if Pete, if you saw this or not. I kind of did a favor for a friend, but it's our friend Jess, who we've known for many, many, many years.
Which one? Which Jess? I know a lot of Jesses.
It's Jessica Wong. Remember way back in the day?
Holy shit! What's up, Wade? What's up,
Yeah,
Time
I know.
Machine?
I know.
Did you take the TARDIS back to her?
I'm gonna. Yes. All I'm gonna. Well, I've always been friends with her and her mom. So anyway, all I'm gonna do is very quickly ask if everyone who's listening, now, or if it's gonna be in the very near future, go to our Facebook page. It's pinned up It's pinned up, or it should be just below the top one. I pinned our show, announcement. But basically, there's a thing to ask. Her family has a family business, or I think it's her sister-in-law has a family business that is. They're trying to win some grant to continue their business. It's like a health and fitness business. So if you mind going there, just click on it and vote. You don't have to take any kind of survey or anything. I did it, but it's like from Chase or something. But it would be a big help if you can do that. They're trying to, they asked me, and I was like, well, maybe I could mention it on our show.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, that'd be awesome. So
yeah.
I figured, what the hell.
All right. Well, you mentioned it, so.
Shut up.
Nah.
So.
All right,
that being said, I don't know, Mike, if it's 11:05, if you want to stick around for the news or if you want to bow out, it's up to you, bud.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to call it a night. Release days are tiring to begin with, and
sure.
I'm still recovering from Comic-Con.
Hey, that's
Thank
cool.
You so much.
Hey, thanks for coming
Thank you so
on.
much for having me on.
Yeah.
Everybody go buy Mike's books. You'll find the links at the bottom of our show and on the on the webpage. Sounds really cool. And he has audiobooks. I'm loving this. I'm actually going to be able to, because it's hard for me to sit down and read a book anymore with the time constraints. But I do drive a lot, so audiobooks are how I consume my books. So,
I has ears.
Right. So I'll definitely have. I want to check out the Shield and Crocus. That actually that is ringing to me as being from all the stuff that I heard from you. That went to the top of my list once we started talking about that. So I think I'm gonna start with your work right there. Is that a good place to start?
I want to check out the Heromancery one, or the Hero. What was it called? The Hero.
Geekomancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geekomancy. Yeah, that's what it was.
Cool. And then we can compare notes.
Yeah. I hope you both enjoy it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll definitely have you back. I promise you. Once I get this whole survey says game down, I promise you we'll have you back, and you can actually experience it as it was meant to, or will be meant to have, will be.
Have been, will then.
Have been, will be.
Shall be. I feel like I'm back in Bioshock Infinite.
All right, Michael. Thanks for coming on.
Take care, folks.
If nothing else, we'll see you at Balticon.
All right. See ya.
All right. Well, Brian is doing a thing with what is it, with the Funimation. So it's just you and me,
with
Mike.
the voice people.
Yeah, with the voice people, with his newfound family there. So we're good.
I gotta say, if you're picking us up for the first time and you want to hear some of our older episodes, I do recommend hearing the Heather and Jesus. What I just
Walker?
mentioned his name? Huh?
Heather and Tyler Walker.
Tyler Walker, yes, because I got Paul stuck in my head, and that would not be who it is we interviewed. But Heather and Tyler Walker, they're from Funimation Studios, and that was a pretty good interview. I think it had fun. You slapped me a couple of times. You're like, Mike, stop! No, don't be that dirty. Then I was like, what?
Well, we're getting our dirty.
Meanwhile, we get our dirty. We had our dirty shorts on too late.
Right.
Anyway, that was a cool episode. Funimation Studios. That's where Brian is. Give us some news, Pete.
All right. So, my first news. My first snooze. I'm gonna do a. Whoops! I hit the wrong thing. Hold on. I fucked it up. Give me a second here. There we go. This is what I wanted.
Jeez.
That's what I wanted to hit, and it hit a little of that. Why is it doing that? I did not want to screen share that. Hold on, folks. I'm not used to doing this. This is Brian's gig, and I'm kind of. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. That's what I want. Does that got it? No, that didn't get it. Okay, so fuck it. I won't share it. All right. So anyway, I don't know why I can't get the screen share to work right. It's just not doing it right.
Because you have to hit this button that says, "Do you want to show this to everyone?" It's like, yes, show it to everyone.
No, I did, and it showed a black screen for whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? So. Wizards of the Coast. If you're living in Seattle, Washington, Wizards of the Coast is hiring. They got a bunch of positions. PMO specialist. I don't know what that is. PMO, project management of something. I don't know. Senior platform analyst, software Q&A analyst, digital project manager, manager software development, a lot of attorney.
Pete,
Yeah.
when Brian does the news, he like reads from like cool shit headlines, not like from the classifieds.
Just hold on. That is news.
So-
That's news. I'm just saying they're hiring. So
Just saying, Brian,
I'm done. Shut the fuck up. The news is
Brian,
the
you're
news.
my only hope. What?
The news is that Wizards of the Coast is hiring. Next. So Xbox has released has released The Witcher, has released some photos from Witcher 3 Witch Hunt or Wild Hunt. It says polished developer CD Projekt Red has released a new batch of gorgeous screenshots for upcoming role-playing game The Witcher 3. As a matter of fact, I'm going to figure out how to share this because it should have worked, but it's not working. I don't know it's not working, but I'm going to get it to work. Give me a second here. So let's do this. I'll just do this and say it like that. All right. Present to everyone. Yay. All right. So is that showing up okay? I got to check my screen. Yes, it's showing up.
Yes, sir.
All right. So here's some of the screenshots. Look at that. That is pretty.
Oh,
then-
wow, that looks like freaking stock footage right there.
Look at this guy. So this is looking like a pretty sweet looking game. I haven't played any
Wow.
fantasy like video games in some time, so this might be something I check out.
Huh. Pretty good.
So that's that.
Remember when we were playing like Final Fantasy 1 or something like that, and we were just like, man, wouldn't it be cool if like one day there would be like something where it would look so real?
Yeah.
Like they have definitely crossed over and gone to the other side of the uncanny valley. It's like crazy.
Oh yeah. So, all right. So here's one. Oh, this is like. Marvel planning a Secret Wars movie? The greatest story ever told in a Marvel comic. So it says something here about earlier tonight, Marvel announced a mega event for the comics division called Secret Wars. Before the event, Marvel billed the announcement as their biggest announcement of 2014, given that Marvel's brand stretches far beyond comics into television, movies, video games, and toys. Why would a comic event be their biggest announcement of the year? Because Secret Wars is not just a comic event. Marvel has already revealed that they see huge merchandising opportunities. Yeah, no shit with this event. So fans can almost certainly expect to see t-shirts, toys, and likely video games. All right, so anyone who doesn't know what Secret Wars is, let me smack you right on your dick right now. But it's basically...
Hey,
what?
how come I wasn't able to punch the ding?
Punch the ding? Oh, punch a ding ding? Hey, Mike, punch the ding ding.
Ba-ding!
So anyway, so this would basically be like Avengers and X-Men and Spider-Man and all of them. And now you say, how could they possibly do that? They're all owned by different entities.
How could they possibly do that, Pete? Aren't they owned by different entities?
If you think about it, let's see. Give me a second here. I had it because I read this before. I'm sorry. I read this before. There were two really big rumors. Blah blah blah. Fucker. Anyway, they said that the studios are already talking about a possible licensing. So, for example, if Spider-Man were to make an appearance in this, he wouldn't have like a humongous part because there's so many heroes running around and doing things, but he does have a part in it. They just license it from I think he's Fox, right? Or is it?
Sure.
Well, whatever. No, he's not Fox. He's he's Universal. Anyway, whatever studio he's with, they would basically.
Brian would know.
Yeah. Fuck you. Brian ain't here. Hey, where's Brian? Hey, where's Brian?
Brian.
Fucking
Brian.
off. He's fucking off.
Where are you, Brian?
At least somebody is here to handle his job. So. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be doing much better, but yeah, good on you, Peter. Good on you.
So, So basically, they figure that it'd be mutually beneficial to both studios. It would get people who may not, yeah, right, not be on board with Spider-Man yet, or not as on board, but they're on board with the Avengers to get on board. But I think it's a bunch of shit. I think they would be anyway. But anyway, so talk is that they may do this, and if they do, I'm going to be geeshing about it because I'm just
It does sound like a really cool thing. I am more and more getting steeped in the Marvel Universe. I think I've mentioned this a few times that I am not the biggest, have not been in the past the biggest comic reader,
right.
Nor until, as you and I have stated several times on tonight's show, that until they have, maybe a series of comics that are on audiobook, which, you know what? Maybe it could happen. I think we just invented a cottage industry.
Maybe, I don't know. Comic books are so visual. All right, so...
But, that being said, yeah.
See, do you know what are you familiar with Secret Wars at all?
I have heard of them.
Okay, so Secret Wars is this godlike thing that puts this world together from all different types of other planets and stuff. So it's like all these different landscapes just meshed together into this big hodgepodge of a planet. And then he basically pulls all these heroes and villains together, and then all the heroes kind of band together with all the villains, and they kind of go against each other. And I haven't read it in a long time. I think there was a prize to be won. But basically you have it's basically a comic series with X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all the big groups, Defenders, all these heroes, and then you've got all the villains together, and it was just this really, really well written thing. There's this one scene that was fucking awesome where Spider-Man is eavesdropping on the X-Men, and they realize he's eavesdropping in on him, and he has to fight his way out because they catch him basically because they're talking about doing something underhanded, and he basically pretty much takes out all the X-Men right up until I think they take him out at the very end, but like he drops down and punches Professor X and knocks him out first because he starts prioritizing. He's being very strategic of who to take out first, and then this person and that person, because if he didn't take out Professor X first, he'd just shut him down mentally. Yeah. So anyway, it was just kind of cool. It's a very, very cool series.
That's cool.
And that's also where the Venom suit comes from. Spider-Man finds the Venom suit there.
I did know that from a Cuba Death question.
That is correct. All right, so moving on. Science fiction, right again. NASA considering...
And just as an FYI, hold on, as an FYI, I have a video I would like to share.
You don't do this to Brian. You don't respect me in my news reporting.
I miss you, Brian. Anyway.
All right, you got a video. All right, so fine.
Just saying.
Shut up. So science fiction, right again. NASA considering deep sleep. Oh, you fucked me up. Deep sleep stasis for Mars mission. No, this is cool because if they can put people to sleep, now they can only do it now for about 7 days, and they're doing this for medical conditions. So let's say you come into the hospital and you're like really fucked up. They actually sedate you. They'll put you into like a coma-like state, so that your body has time to start healing and they can work on you and stuff like that.
Wait a minute, Pete, are you talking about a sleep stasis?
Yes, a sleep stasis.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
this is modern miracle technology.
So the reason why this is cool, like really, really cool, is that when you're in stasis, you're going to breathe less oxygen, you're going to eat less food, you're not going to excrete, there's all this stuff that you're not doing, or you're doing it very, very small amounts. Plus, if you're in stasis in like a capsule, like you can see in the picture here, right? You only have to condition that space, right? You don't have to have oxygen outside of that container. You don't have to have heat outside of that container, really, or minimal. Plus, it would be easy to shield them from radiation in a small space like that instead of trying to shield them from radiation in a large, like throughout the ship. So this could make things very doable. There is a hurdle, though. They have to figure out how to get past. I mean, because it takes more than 7 days to get to Mars. They have to get past that tiny little hurdle of being able to put somebody in stasis for very long periods of time. Because you're talking like between 150, 180 days. You remember remember in our favorite book, The Martian? Would it take them about 200 some days because they weren't on the they weren't on the best trajectory. But on like when Mars is in the right position with Earth, yes. I think it's like 150 days minimum to get there. So they'd want to put these guys under for at least 100, at least.
Right, and you're going to have atrophy for that long, atrophy of muscles, atrophy of so many parts of the body. So I mean, I know that they've been working on these types of things. I mean, you and I listen to Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, and it's funny when we hear a lot of the truth or fiction questions in the studies that come out, and we think, so many things that are parsed out where they are working on the muscles, like just the small muscle electro stimulation just to keep them moving and alive. And,
right. So their muscles don't like
moving and active,
melt away.
And right. And I think things like that, I mean, we're going to get there eventually. And whether or not it's before you and I die, when this kind of a thing is just a everyday ubiquitous thing, I'm not sure. But there are several things that I'm sure are going to happen within 1 or 2 generations that are just going to make me so jealous that I was here now. And I'm sure there are going to be people who are like, God, I wish I was there to see everything in the beginning when they were just on the frontier of just. It's boring. You don't want to know about it. Trust me.
Right. All right. So next. On the space front here, and this one is very exciting for me because this is one of my pet technologies that I love.
Oh, do I see nanotubes?
No, that's not my thing. I mean, I like nanotubes. Don't get me wrong. I like space elevator. So, so I'm a big proponent of the space elevator. I think that if we are ever going to do stuff like going to Mars and setting up bases and all that kind of stuff, the space elevator is really what's going to get us there. Granted, we can get to Mars now with just rockets, but it's so expensive and inefficient. It's kind of ridiculous.
3rd floor, ladies' lingerie,
right.
ISS space station.
Right. But with a space elevator, you cut the cost to ship something into space by like over. I can't remember if it's like 100 or like 1,000 by like 1,000. I mean, it's ridiculous because you don't have to reach escape velocity. You put an elevator and send it up the thread. Up it goes. You send something down the thread at the same time, and it doesn't really cost much in the way of energy because you got the one thing dropping, which is pulling the other thing up if the weights are equal.
Well, that sounds great, Pete. What's stopping this from happening? What has been the big hurdle? I mean, I don't understand. You just put something up there and, rope. What could go wrong?
There are a lot of hurdles, but the biggest hurdle is having the what they call the tether to be strong enough to support the forces that go on at that height. Because you're miles up in space.
It's just this rope. I mean, what? I don't understand. Just tie it to the ISS. What?
Nothing has come close.
It's up there. It's up there.
Even carbon nanotubes are not close. They need, I can't remember what the actual number is, but it's like you need something like 100 times stronger than carbon nanotubes.
How about silk nanotubes?
Yeah. So this guy has come up, this professor of chemistry, he's come up with this this way of stacking carbon so that it's actually basically a long thread of diamond. And then they were talking about maybe braiding it to enhance it even further. So it'd be even stronger than carbon nanotubes. And it's not going to be strong enough yet. Did I say a yet? It's not going to be strong enough yet.
Yeah, yet.
It's not going to be strong enough yet. But
when will it be, Geppetto?
They don't know. They're getting closer, though.
So what you're telling me is, it sounds like diamonds are going to be an astronaut's best friend.
Yes. And that's it. That's it for the news. That's my torture for the news.
I gotta hand it to you. You had a rough start, even a little bit of a hiccup in the middle, but you ended strong. Thank you.
I backed into it like I usually do.
As you are wont to do. All right, why don't you hit us up on the YouTube on the application? I have it all ready to go. Hopefully you should see it too. It's ready to queue up. It basically says Hawk versus drone.
All right,
Hawk attacks helicopter. Yeah, you get it set up.
Wait, okay.
What?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm setting it up.
As you get it set up, I'm not going to hit play yet. I'm going to read what is on the basically what is on the what is this thing called? The guy's YouTube page. If I can zoom, oh my God, these stupid things. I can't read it from that far away, even with my bifocals that's so small on the screen. All right, basically it says, on October 8th, I was flying my quadcopter at Magazine Beach Park in Cambridge when a hawk decided it wasn't too happy with my invasion of his airspace. So basically it talks about, what had happened.
Hey, wait a minute. There's no music in this, is there?
I hope not, but I
really don't know. Yeah, because we keep getting fucking dinged by YouTube, fuckers. All right.
We'll see.
It's ready to go.
All right, get out. We'll see. So as we show for our audio listeners, it's just this, guy's flying his copter and wham! It was attacked and it fell.
Damn, took his ass out.
See the hawk? It still has the hook. It's like coming in for another attack. That is a big hawk. Holy shit!
That's awesome. So, do you think he goes back to the? Do you think he goes back to the other hawks and like high fives them and shit? Like he's like, bust your ass, motherfucker.
No, I would like to get a hold of this guy whose quadcopter was and see if maybe there was any like hawk jizz. Maybe was that hawk just trying to inseminate his quadcopter? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty intense though, and I think that is going to be an interesting, as yet unidentified hazard when what is it? Amazon starts using these quadcopters for delivery in the future.
This whole fucking Amazon thing, it ain't happening. Not happening.
I don't know, man. Not now, because hawk. It's not a matter of in the inner cities, like people are gonna like steal them or attack them or something. It's like even out in the wilderness, you're gonna have bears and hawks attacking it.
When you first said this, you're going to cue this video up. I thought you said hawk attacking.
UAV, I smash! Hawk. Not the Incredible Hawk. The brown-nosed hawk.
Right. And not Hawk in a spaceship from Buck Rogers.
Right.
Right.
Or, yes, right. Not Hawkeye.
Not Hawkeye with an arrow, right.
Right. Like a bird, Peter, a bird. Did you hear that? Bird was the word.
Not Hawk, like the private detective from the TV show.
Correct. Not like that at all. No.
King of the Hawks? King of the Hawks?
Oh, I wasn't even trying to play King of the Hawks. I'm sorry.
Come on.
I didn't know we were doing that. Yeah, King of the Hawks.
King of the Hawks.
Yeah. You bamboozled me on hawks.
Right. No, look, the Amazon thing. I work with. So there's a whole team of guys at work that are working right now with UAVs, and there's so many technical issues, dude. The batteries on those, they can only go like fucking 20 minutes, right? And that's with the best of them right now. And here's the problem: you want to go further, you need a better battery. You need a better battery. It's a heavier battery. Heavier battery means uses more juice to keep it in the air.
Yeah, but Pete, as we all know, battery technology is on the cusp of a huge breakthrough. It's only about 4 to 5 years out.
4 to 5 years out, yeah. It's been there for it's been 4 to 5 years out for about 50 fucking years.
Oh, come on, that's not fair. Lithium ion, I'd say it's a huge jump. And that's the thing that also we do know about battery technology is there will very rarely be something that'll watch it, young man. There will be very rarely be something that will just completely, jump to another stratosphere in battery technology. It's just going to be it'll be incremental improvements. And at some point, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get my deliveries from Amazon, and it's going to come in some sort of a quad type, coptery type of thing. Hey, even if it's something, just shut your mouth for a minute, okay? Maybe it won't be an exact quadcopter the way we see them now. Okay, I'm picturing maybe Dyson comes up with something that will whoosh air, so it can fly, without it having to be, prevent a danger to anyone if they even get near it, or maybe it'll just be, rocket thruster technology, or maybe it'll just be like nuclear.
Yeah, they're gonna put plutonium in a fucking UAV.
Would you go near it? Fuck that!
But then you've got people, all right, so there's that issue. Then you've got people who are going to steal the drones. People, you got your rednecks to be like, hey, look at this, pull! Shooting the drones out of the air. You got dogs.
Technology.
You've got dogs attacking the drones when they land in your yard. I just don't see it. I think it's a pie in the sky kind of dream. I think we should just install pneumatic tubes under the city and have them come to people's houses. So you get like, ding dong,
Yeah. I know right where I'm going to put my tube. Right up your ass. Boop, Mike! It's here for you.
Wait a minute.
I'll be there to get it in a minute.
Amazon, put an order in right now. Oh, and it's a big order.
2-day delivery.
No.
Same day.
Same day delivery. Oh, send it back. Oh, no, send it again. Send it back. Send it again.
Stop.
All right, that is our fucking dumbass show for the night.
All right. You have to remind me this for next week. I'll have to make a note of this too.
What's that?
There is something unbelievable that I just discovered, and I don't want to talk about it now. The show's running long, but I want you to ask me about something about nuclear, the history of nuclear something. All right, I don't know. I don't want to give it away. I don't want you to do any research on it.
Hey, Jay Libby said that half the MythWits can't say the word nuclear properly.
Well, it's nuclear.
Right. That's
right. Nuclear.
I told him. I said, "Oh yeah, you should hear me say washwater, washwater, washwater."
Wait, but God forbid it's the hot water heater. Hey, watch it.
You gonna heat that hot water?
Yeah, that's why it's gonna be hot.
Gonna be like super
in my domicile.
Hey, you want
domicile hot water heater?
You want it hot? You want it real hot?
I want it real hot. Scalding. Anyway,
all right, shut the fuck
Jay
up.
knows that we're from Baltimore, so fuck you, Jay.
Right.
We say nuclear.
That's right.
We say nuclear
here. What do they say up
nuclear.
He's up in Maine or whatever.
Up there in Maine, they say nuclear.
Yeah, it's wicked.
Wicked hot, that nuclear.
Jay, go play some hockey, you fucker.
Go shovel your fucking roof, you
yeah,
bastard.
Go shovel your roof. Go pay your plowing account. Go build a snowman or something in the summer, you
Why are we ending the show? Why are we ending the show beating on Jay? I don't know, but I like it. All right, hey. Just end it, quick. Cut the cord.
Love you.
Cut the cord.
All right. Shh.
Don't tell Jay. Don't tell Jay.
Shut up. All right, I'm muting you. Goodbye.
You've just enjoyed the MythWits. Join us for a live broadcast next week and every week, Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you miss our live show, you can always catch the encore episodes and the podcast version at our website and on iTunes. Make sure to check out our website at mythwits.com, and of course visit us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and iTunes. MythWits is a Studio187.com production and is protected under an attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives, Creative Commons work. You can download and share it with whoever you like. Just don't change it and don't try to make money with it. Make sure to check out Studio187.com for more cool stuff. See you next week.